The young and the restless spoilers shock. Over the years, Genoa City has known its share of surprise returns and shocking family revelations, but nothing could have prepared the denizens of Newman Ranch Road for the emergence of Aristotle Dumas. Whispers first began circulating in the corridors of Newman Enterprises and Abbott Labs when an unmarked envelope landed on Victor Newman's desk. A dossier filled with old photographs, birth certificates, and cryptic legal documents revealing that Diana Carter, Victor's late first wife and Jack Abbott's mother, had given birth to another son long before either Victor or Jack had fully established their acronyms of power. This son, Aristotle Dumas, had lived in relative obscurity abroad, carving out his own empire in shipping and logistics, while the Newman and Abbott clans had built global cosmetics and media fortunes. The envelope bore no signature, but the implication was clear. If Victor refused to cede control of his vast holdings, the evidence therein could splinter his reputation, even force him into litigation he might not survive. Victor, a man unaccustomed to blackmail, was forced to weigh the value of his empire against the sanctity of his own life. He knew that if these documents went public, shareholders would recoil, media outlets would feast on scandal, and a once unassailable titan could be brought to his knees. Confronted with the specter of death, legal, financial, and reputational, Victor did the only thing he could. He reached out to Jack Abbott, his oldest adversary, to seek an alliance born of mutual self-preservation rather than friendship. Jack Abbott, for his part, was unnerved by the news. He had mourned the loss of his mother, Diana, years ago and had long accepted that his only sibling was the rivalry he shared with Victor. Now, the ghost of a brother he never knew existed stood poised to rewrite the family saga. Jack's heart raced as he paged through the dossier. Letters from Diana expressing fear for her safety, indictments against a wealthy Greek shipping magnate, and even birth records listing Aristotle's father as a partner in a shell corporation once tied to Jabot's European affiliates. The implications were staggering not only for Jack's identity but for the very definition of his company's legacy. He realized that if Aristotle chose to go public, he could stake a legal claim not only on Diana's estate but on the family fortune Jack had helped build. Yet, as rumors of Aristotle's true intentions began to trickle in, they painted a more complex portrait. This was not a man motivated by revenge or an insatiable hunger for power, but a brother determined to protect Jack from the same existential threats he now faced himself. Late one evening, Jack found himself in Victor's office. An uneasy truce being brokered amid the steel and marble angularity of Newman Enterprises' boardroom. The two men, lifelong adversaries, now shared a common foe, Aristotle Dumas. Jack cleared his throat, staring at Victor with a mixture of disbelief and reluctant respect. "Your empire built itself on fear, Victor," Jack began quietly, "but no amount of intimidation will keep Aristotle from claiming what is rightfully his, both Diana's legacy and a share of whatever we hold dear." Victor, ever the strategist, tapped his desk with a gold-trimmed pen. "He may be my half-brother, but he's also the one holding the guillotine. If he wants a piece of the pie, he can have it, provided he helps me neutralize the leak." Jack's mind raced. A partnership with Victor went against every instinct he had cultivated, yet the alternative, Aristotle's unpredictable entry into their delicate dynastic balance, could shatter both empires. After a beat, Jack nodded curtly. "Agreed. But we set the terms. We bring him in, we control the narrative, and above all, we contain the fallout." Word of this alliance leaked almost as soon as it was formed, sending ripples through Genoa City's elite. Stock prices wavered, tabloids smelled blood, and shareholders demanded answers. It was into this maelstrom that Aristotle Dumas finally walked, a tall, impeccably dressed figure whose demeanor combined the grace of old-world aristocracy with a palpable steeliness. At a hastily arranged press conference held in a private wing of the Chancellor Mansion, Victor and Jack stood flanking Aristotle as he spoke. His voice, rich with a European cadence, resonated with sincerity as he thanked both men for their willingness to reconcile, emphasizing that his mission was not to usurp, but to safeguard. He announced his intention to reinvest in Newman Enterprises and Abbott Labs, pledging capital and management expertise to protect the family fortunes from external threats. The public saw a triumphant unity. Behind the scenes, however, the real battle was just beginning. Aristotle's strategy was multi-layered. First, he dispatched a legal team to secure an injunction preventing the dossier's contents from being disseminated. Then he flew to London and Athens, meeting with lobbyists and financial regulators to ensure that no offshore judgments could be enforced against the family holdings. All the while, he cultivated an aura of magnanimity, making generous donations to the Genoa City Opera House in his mother's name and funding scholarships at Chancellor Winter's University. His public relations acumen won over many skeptics, even as whispers persisted that this was a calculated power play. Victor, initially wary, found himself grudgingly impressed by Aristotle's seamless maneuvering. For the first time in years, Victor felt the relief of having an ally who understood the brutal realities of boardroom warfare, and who had the resources to match. Jack, too, discovered unexpected benefits. Aristotle's financial injections allowed Jabot to expand its flagship Armani-inspired skincare line into emerging markets, and with Aristotle's backing, Jack negotiated joint ventures that had eluded him for decades. On the surface, the half-brothers' triumphant reunion appeared to be rewriting the Newman-Abbott rivalry as a story of family solidarity. Yet beneath the polished veneer lay the unspoken tension of competing legacies. Victor, though grateful, watched Aristotle with the wary eye he reserved for his most cunning opponents, while Jack found himself torn between loyalty to his newfound brother and the fear that Aristotle's influence might one day eclipse his own. Meanwhile, in the quiet halls of Society Bistro and the shadowed corners of the GC Buzz office, Genoa City's power brokers debated the long-term implications. Could this trio maintain unity once the immediacy of the threat had passed? Or would Aristotle eventually turn his gaze on the lion's share of control, demanding a defining role in day-to-day operations? Was his show of goodwill merely the prelude to a stealth takeover, or did he genuinely seek to honor his mother's memory by preserving both empires? And what would it mean for Victor, whose life had been built on ruthless competition, to share his throne with the man who had once blackmailed him? As this saga unfolds, one thing is certain. The arrival of Aristotle Dumas has irrevocably altered the balance of power in Genoa City. The man who once existed only in the margins of family myth has become a central figure in a drama that intertwines legacy, loyalty, and survival. Whether he will emerge as protector or predator remains to be seen, but his half-brothers, Victor Newman and Jack Abbott, now stand at a crossroads far more perilous than any they have faced before. In a world where corporate empires are built on fragile alliances and hidden agendas, Aristotle's next move could either cement a new era of collaboration or ignite the most epic family feud Genoa City has ever witnessed. And as shareholders watch the ticker tape and fans tune in with bated breath, one question hangs in the air: can family bonds forged in secrecy ever withstand the cold calculus of power? Over the past several weeks, Genoa City has trembled at the mere mention of Aristotle Dumas, an enigmatic billionaire whose reclusive nature and whispered fortune have set tongues wagging from Newman Ranch Road to the Abbott Mansion on Chancellor Drive. Even Phyllis Summers, our fearless anti-heroine whose life has been a roller coaster of triumphs and betrayals, finds herself caught in the current of Dumas mania. Yet her longing for this mysterious investor goes far deeper than the usual quest for wealth or a high-powered romantic dalliance. It stems from a fierce yearning for something she's sorely lacked in recent years: authentic healing and a reprieve for her battered spirit. In countless late-night sessions on the patio of society, Phyllis has stared out across the twinkling lights of Genoa City, wondering if another million-dollar deal or glamorous affair could truly salve her wounds. She has chased prestige with a white-knuckled intensity, convinced that success and money would fill the void left by her emotional scars. But now, with Aristotle Dumas looming on the horizon, she senses an opportunity not merely to pad her bank account but to reclaim a sense of wholeness she has desperately craved. Phyllis's infatuation began as a practical gambit. Amanda Sinclair and other high-profile figures in the beauty industry had already secured tenuous alliances with Dumas, leveraging his capital for product launches, boutique makeovers, and clandestine research into revolutionary cosmetics. Phyllis watched them all from the sidelines, her mind racing through pitch decks and strategic outlines, convinced that a single phone call, or even the shadow of Dumas's endorsement, could catapult her back to the apex of success. Yet she soon realized that merely inviting him in as an investor would replicate the patterns of her past. She would throw a glittering gala, flash a dazzling smile for the cameras, and then stand at the podium, heart pounding, while he scanned the room with inscrutable calm. She would feel once more as though her value lay in her ability to sell herself and her ideas, rather than in the quiet strength that had sustained her through years of heartbreak and scandal. On the evening she pilfered Billy's phone, just long enough to read the encrypted message from Dumas, she was struck by a startling revelation. The note contained no flamboyant offer of millions, no flattery, no explicit promises of board seats. Instead, it referenced an upcoming dialogue on resilience, an invitation to a discreet gathering of founders, therapists, and artists exploring the intersection of mental wellness and creative enterprise. In that instant, Phyllis recognized that Dumas offered something far different than she had ever imagined, an opportunity to heal, to transform, and to invest in herself rather than simply in yet another project. Emboldened by this insight, Phyllis has begun to craft a new kind of proposal, one that transcends profit margins and brand image. She envisions a sanctuary in the heart of Genoa City. A restored Victorian building on the outskirts of Town Square, repurposed as a holistic wellness retreat where women like herself, seasoned by life's harshest lessons, can gather for guided meditation, expressive therapy, and creative workshops. She would curate intimate sessions led by the city's top life coaches, host pop-up art installations celebrating survival, and sponsor research into the psychological impact of beauty standards. In her mind's eye, this project carries the weight of her own redemption, a chance to turn her pain into purpose, to share the balm she so desperately needs with others who have known betrayal and loss. She plans to present Dumas with a vision board of mood-evocative photographs. Sepia-toned images of women supporting one another, architectural sketches of airy lounges and reflection gardens, data charts demonstrating the rising demand for mental health-focused services in high-stress industries. She will speak not of return on investment in dollars and cents but of metrics of well-being, reductions in anxiety, improvements in self-esteem, and the ripple effect of empowered individuals on the broader community. This is the language she has learned to speak inwardly, though she has seldom dared to utter it in public. Yet Phyllis's undertaking is shadowed by all too familiar obstacles. Her reputation as a ruthless competitor and serial romantic entanglements still dog her every step. Whispers already circulate that she's angling for Dumas's attention, that her proposal is another elaborate scheme to secure a fast buck or a high-profile lover. Billy, jolted by the disappearance of his phone and Phyllis's furtive actions, is torn between anger at the breach of trust and empathy for her deeper turmoil. Victoria Newman, watching from across the corporate battlefield, is quick to cast aspersions, portraying Phyllis's wellness retreat as a vanity project designed to restore her own image. The Newman-Weinstein faction in town murmurs that Aristotle Dumas will see through the facade, that wellness cannot be a veneer for profit, and that Phyllis, with her history of duplicity, is ill-suited to steer such a mission. These voices of skepticism will form the backdrop to Phyllis's pitch, looming as potential landmines in her carefully choreographed presentation. Her challenge then, therefore, is not just to woo Dumas with an inspired concept but to demonstrate her own authenticity. To prove that this is not another chapter in her saga of ambition but the start of a chapter of compassion, healing, and community uplift. As the date of her clandestine meeting with Dumas draws near, Phyllis's every waking thought is consumed by the balance between vulnerability and conviction. She has rehearsed her opening remarks dozens of times, each iteration stripping away another layer of defensive bravado until she is left with the raw, trembling core of her aspiration. To be seen not as a profit-seeking power player but as a survivor seeking to translate personal adversity into collective hope. If Aristotle Dumas responds as she hopes, investing not only capital but also his influence and networks, her wellness retreat could reshape Genoa City's narrative, transforming a town long defined by boardroom battles and tabloid scandals into a beacon of resilience and renewal. But the stakes are immense. A rebuff could reinforce her worst fears, reigniting the sense of isolation she has fought for so long to outrun. Should Dumas extend his hand, it will mark a turning point not merely in her career but in her life's trajectory, validating her new belief that the greatest returns are measured not in millions of dollars but in the healing of broken spirits. In the weeks ahead, Genoa City will hold its breath as Phyllis Summers steps onto the stage of her own reinvention. Whether she emerges triumphant, her sanctuary of wellness standing as a testament to her growth, or falters before skeptics who doubt her sincerity, one thing is certain: Phyllis is no longer driven solely by the lust for power or the glow of social acclaim. She has dared to articulate a vision that centers on human wholeness, on turning scars into stories of shared strength. And if Aristotle Dumas truly embodies the understated magnanimity hinted at in his Stolen Message, then a partnership born of healing rather than hubris may well become the most dramatic and most transformative chapter in her storied life.